Hello, everybody. My name's James, and welcome to a bonus Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents this Saturday. I'm delighted, firstly, to be joined by FA Cup winning and Champions League chasing Leicester City correspondent Aaron Lagor. How are you, Aaron?
Very well, thanks, mate.
Good man. And I'm delighted to be joined by Europa Conference League chasing Tottenham correspondent Ricky Saunders. How are you, Ricky?
I wasn't too bad until that introduction.
Yeah, listen, the beautiful thing about being a Tottenham fan is we know how to laugh at ourselves, mate. This is, to my knowledge, the only game this weekend where both teams have physically got something to play for, bar trying to jump a league place in or two. Let's start with you, Aaron, and kind of reflect on last Saturday. Many congratulations. How was the day for you last week?
Yeah, amazing. It was such a, as a fan, you never think that you're ever, well, especially for us, getting to so many finals and it not happening for us. It was an amazing day, one that will live in the memory forever, and one that they can never take away from us now. So, yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, I actually I went and watched the game with my dad. We took a couple of COVID tests just to make sure everything was okay, but no one else was in the house, just us two. And yeah, at the final whistle, I broke down in tears, like a lot of probably Leicester fans did across the country. Really, it was felt like a big moment, and yeah, something that we can kind of get that monkey off our back now with the cup. And yeah, it was fantastic. Amazing.
When you said you took a couple of tests, I didn't know where that was going to go for a second. He's going to tell me he was doing something dodgy before the game to perk you up.
No, I didn't need anything to perk me up for the game. We were both well up for it. So,
what did you make of the media reaction afterwards? Because there was kind of an overwhelming kind of wave of support in terms of how brilliantly the club is run. I think there was a lot of kind of anti the big six attitude towards the fact that Leicester had won the competition. What did you make of that as a Leicester fan? Does it give you pride, or do you just overlook it?
Yeah, no, it did. Immense pride. And I think obviously maybe if it would have been any other team that was an underdog, then I probably would have been supporting it against a top six side, or the big six who tried to break away. I think that obviously played into the narrative of the game a lot more, and that's probably what was the overriding emotion throughout football. I think that the result kind of went the right way. Like you said on a few of your pods earlier this week, it's all about the underdog sort of story, and everyone roots for the underdog. But the fact that it was my team, it felt, we felt incredibly proud, and I think it was a winner for football on that day, really.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the FA Cup final, probably more than any other game, even more than, say, a Champions League final, I think it's just a very British thing to want the underdog to win that particular game. It's kind of ingrained in our history for as far back as any of us can remember. Unless you hate one of the teams in the final, you support the team that's the underdog. How did you feel with the VAR moment?
Oh, yes. I hate VAR still to this day. I mean, obviously it went for us, fortunately, in that respect. And he obviously was an arm offside, but
was he? Because someone drew a line.
Oh no, I hate it. I do hate it. But yeah, to have that moment, I mean, it's kind of that played into the whole narrative as well, didn't it? The fact that it was Chilwell as well. And it went, I think it went in off Wes, didn't it?
Yeah.
That would have been really cruel. So yeah, I'm kind of glad it went in our favour, but I would still scrap it today, really.
Good man. Yeah, so would me and Ricky. It was the closest moment, I think, to the Sterling moment, wasn't it, Ricky? That we'd obviously been through. It felt like the biggest VAR moment since it was kind of introduced specifically into English football.
I think because of the occasion, because of the time within the game as well, it felt, very well. I'm sure you felt as I felt, and James felt as in that Champions League quarter final. VAR shouldn't be, well, like you said, we've got to get used to it. It is what it is. But just major cup finals and relegations, promotions being decided on a shit system, it's not right. And luckily, the right result happened that day, and Chelsea didn't get nothing, which is always a bonus.
Well, interesting you say that, Ricky. Did you have any doubt in your mind that you wanted Leicester to win?
No.
No, neither did I. But
none whatsoever.
But the reason I mention that is in terms of looking at Tottenham specifically and how the fans feel. Leicester, obviously, for the last 5 years have been getting mentioned quite a lot in the same breath because a lot of people go, well, Leicester have now won a League Cup and an FA Cup. And in the same period, obviously, Tottenham have won nothing going back to 2008. And Leicester have become kind of a standard bearer for a lot of other clubs outside the so-called greedy six in terms of how their club should be and stuff. Did you have any tinge afterwards and go, oh, fuck me, they're going to be throwing Leicester in our face again?
No, not at all. Because Leicester is an example that with the right owner, a club that hasn't been historically successful. I mean, we've always been a fairly successful club. We'll win a trophy every few years. But we haven't been winning to the levels of United or Liverpool or teams like that. So I would say we were closer in stature more to how Leicester are now than how Chelsea and Man City are. So Leicester going there with a fantastic owner, coming onto the pitch, clearly loved by everybody that's ever met him, and winning things with good football, good players, and not overreaching themselves. It shows it can be done if the man upstairs makes the right decisions, rather than if the man upstairs owns an oil field and just ploughs money into the club. So we're trying to do things the way that Leicester are doing things. So for them to actually go and win stuff and be mentioned in that way, I think that's good for us. Maybe it can get some momentum for our club behind having someone in charge who can actually not piss everybody off and make a decent managerial appointment and not, fuck off the players and whatever else.
Should we just continue on that line then? Because you and I last spoke before the double against Everton and Southampton, and your opinion on Jose Mourinho is very similar to mine. Aaron suggested before we started that perhaps Daniel Levy had heard the podcast because Mourinho didn't make it another 7 days. How do you reflect on that now, the fact that he's gone? Because it happened at a very strange time for Spurs fans because it was the morning after the Super League announcement.
Yeah, it's funny, actually. I was having a conversation with my mate yesterday, who's another massive Tottenham fan, and he hated Mourinho, but he is disgusted that Mourinho was sacked when he was. And I was trying to defend it a little bit, but he said, no, it was wrong. It was bad timing. That man was brought in to win that game. It's Levy's greed. Levy sacked him because he's greedy. I don't know if it was from a financial point of view, but I do understand what he's saying. I don't. There's a lot of things that happen at my club that I don't understand. I'm glad that Mourinho went. Whether the timing was good or bad, I don't know. But he's not there, which gives me a little bit of hope for the future. Then I look at the way the players are playing, and it gives me no hope for the future. Then I look at Harry Kane off, and oh god, it's all going wrong. There's nothing, and it does all stem from Daniel Levy, I'm afraid. And I've defended him. I've defended him on this pod before, but it's harder and harder and harder.
Where do you stand on him now?
Thank you very much, Daniel. You've done really well for my club. You've established us as a club that can at least be in a question for things. But see you around. Time's to go.
It's not that simple, though, is it?
No, of course it isn't. This is a question I posed. Oh, Daniel Levy needs to go. Okay, I agree with you. Who buys the club?
That's what we've said, yeah.
And it's not only who buys it, but who can take it forward. Because people who have got £2 billion to buy it are few and far between. People that have got another 5 or 6 in reserve to actually put some money into the club are even few and far between. So I think I think it may be tied into the stadium because that was brought up last night as well, that we still haven't sold the naming rights. I think it's waiting for a massive corporation or even a country to come in. It's not going to be an individual. It's going to be a Google or a Nike or a country that comes in and buys the club. And then, well, let's just see how good the owners are. They could be really good owners. They might not be.
That's it, isn't it? You could get new owners and it might be worse, mate.
We in a year's time or 2 years' time, mate, we might be begging for Levy to come back. It might be a case of better the devil you know.
Yeah, might be, mate. My stance has eased since the original anger of the Super League because I just don't see a solution to someone else buying the football club at the moment. So I think it's going to have to stick with the devil that we've got, and we try and change a lot of things that are going on at the football club, like prioritising sponsorship hoardings over where fans sit at football matches and charging 60 quid in a half-empty stadium with a game that didn't mean anything. But there was a lot of things wrong with that football club at the moment, kind of the very opposite to your own, Aaron, which kind of begs the question, if you don't finish in the top four, do you think there's any chance Tottenham would come back for Brendan Rodgers? And if so, would you have any fear that he would go?
It's a big question. I think, I don't know. I guess it depends on how much they really want him, because he would be a good fit for you guys. But he's on a big contract there. So that's one big stumbling block, because Levy doesn't ever want to pay over the odds for anything, does he?
No.
So that's a big thing. So I would be worried, but he's very much taken on the mantle there, and it feels like he's a real part of the club now. I think he's not just, yes, he is passing through, because obviously he's going to go on to bigger and better things, but I do think he's got a job still to do there. He's obviously won a trophy now, which is a big deal, and especially the first FA Cup for us. So I think maybe if he does drop out the top four, I think maybe he'd like to stay another year. I just hope that he doesn't feel as if he's kind of taking it as far as he can by not finishing the top four again, because again, like we're punching above us weight being in the top four for the whole of this, these last two seasons really. So it depends. I mean, we're bringing in players already. There's a few that are rumoured to be coming in, so it looks like they're bolstering the squad already. So yeah, I'm quietly confident that he'll be with us at the start of next season.
I can feel every listener and viewer right now going, why would anybody in their right mind go from Leicester to Tottenham? Ricky, do you want to sum that up?
I don't know why they would.
Well, no, I don't know why we would make the move at the moment either.
Well, I watched, and I personally don't think Rodgers will go. I mean, he might leave Leicester. This time, I think Levy will actually spend some money, because I think he realises that Tottenham are now very much at a crossroads, and he's very much at a crossroads as well in how his legacy is going to be left at Tottenham. If we don't get this next appointment right, we can end up being a mid-table team for the next 10 years.
I agree with that.
Yeah, he's got to, whether it's spending loads of money or however he gets the right man, he's got to get the right man for the club, play in the way that the fans want the football played, and bringing in new players and identifying youth and things like that. He's got to get it right. Otherwise, we're going to be so far behind that we'll never be able to catch up. I was watching the FA Cup final last week, and I saw, I'm not going to try and pronounce your owner's name, but I saw him come onto the pitch. And the way that he was with Brendan Rodgers, the way that he was with the players, and obviously the fans, you fans clearly love him as well. Why would Brendan Rodgers want to trade that to come and work with Daniel Levy? I don't. Yeah, all right, we've got a nice stadium and whatever, but why would he want to trade those working conditions? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't think I would want to go from a place where I clearly love it and I see joy every day, and go to a miserable place where everything's walking around with a long face. I wouldn't want to work for Daniel Levy, I don't think. And that's the problem, is he's got this reputation, great businessman, but would you actually want to work for him, or would you buy a used car from him? He's damaging his own reputation, and I think in doing that, he's also damaging our chances of getting a really good manager.
He was very nearly appointed Tottenham manager in 2012 when Tottenham appointed Andre Villas-Boas. That would have saved me another boring 18 months or so, I should imagine. Nuno got sacked at Wolves yesterday. Do I need another Portuguese manager who's going to bore me to tears? No, I don't think so. Nuno won't be the next Spurs manager, by the way. My understanding, Aaron, is that Brendan Rodgers is not under consideration at the moment. One of the reasons would be that he spoke about that time in 2012 and described not becoming Tottenham manager as a close shave and a lucky escape that he didn't get involved with the club. So don't think Brendan Rodgers has any ideals to become Tottenham manager. While I think, like Ricky says, while the ownership is still the same at Tottenham at the moment, because he just won't get the same control of football operations as what he's obviously blessed to have at Leicester. So I don't think you've got any concerns there. I just wonder if he would be my first choice to take the job if he was available and you could get him. And I just wonder if you miss out on the top four, Tottenham might go back and ask a question again of Leicester and Rodgers, and he might think that, like what you said, Aaron, could it be I've taken it as far as I can? Because the shocking statistic, which you're probably aware of, Leicester have been in the top four for 68 of the last 72 weeks. And may end those 72 weeks without having played a minute of Champions League football. We get labelled, Ricky, as being bottlers. Are you?
Well, the thing is, you've got to realise, I think if we'd never been in the Champions League before, maybe it might have been a bit more of a stick to hit us with. But the fact that we've been there, we've done it, and it's a club where you don't expect it. Maybe our expectations of where we are need to be, put in check a little bit. It's easy to look at the title winning season and think, oh, that's where we should be every season. It's not. Realistically, that was a bit of a freak. So I think a lot of Leicester fans will realise that, we're still progressing. We're still, we're ahead of schedule. And yeah, I think Brendan's got it great now. I mean, the fact that he's got this. I mean, he's at the peak of his powers really at our club now. We've just moved into a new training centre, which is absolutely incredible. And yeah, he's got whatever he needs there at Leicester. So I think the only thing with moving to Tottenham, if they did come calling, is that you're potentially selling your best player this summer. And Son possibly could go as well. He doesn't look particularly happy. There's unrest in the squad. It's not as if it'd probably be better actually waiting another season, letting someone come in,
fuck it up again.
Yeah, and then see where the club's going, and then maybe revisit it then. If he's clever enough, he should do that really, because he's all right. His stock is never higher at the moment, but it is. If he does drop out of the top four again, is there question marks about mentality and stuff? I don't know, but yeah, I would think that he should be there at the start of the season.
I think if people were saying Butler's tag for Leicester, I think last Saturday has made people forget about that, haven't they? You went and won the big game that ultimately mattered. If you don't finish top four, which that's unbelievable if you don't, because listen, at the end of 38 games, the table finishes generally where you deserve to finish, unless you're a Brighton fan and you finish 17th, because you definitely should be higher. But generally, it finishes the way it deserves to. If you don't make it, Aaron, it's going to be because of the home form, isn't it?
Oh, massively. I know, and a lot of sides have suffered this season with not having their own crowd there, and it does make a massive difference, and especially for us. It definitely does. It just shows you. I mean, our away form is one of the best in the league, isn't it? So if we could, we should be wrapped up by now. Those two games, the one against Southampton when they went down to 10 men, you've got to win that game really. And then the Newcastle game was a complete, I don't know what happened there. But we've had the chances. So if it doesn't happen ultimately, we've only got ourselves to blame.
Ricky, ironically, I'm just looking at the home Premier League table for the season.
I'm just doing the same, actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, it will finish at least third. And we've got 6 home games. What's that?
We're currently second in the league.
For home this season, and West Ham, if they win tomorrow, will leapfrog that. Liverpool could draw level on that, but they'd need a 9-goal swing to actually finish above us in the home league table. Here you go. We're going to finish in the top 4 of that one, Ricky. How does that make you feel?
How many defeats you had at home?
We've had 6, and you've had 8, Aaron.
Yeah.
And I think that paints a picture for the whole season. I mean, to reference Brighton again. Brighton have only lost 6 home games, and they'd be 16th in the home league table, as opposed to Tottenham, who's second, have lost the same amount of home games. So, I mean, consistency this year in home games has gone out the window for so many teams. Does that, do you in a way wish going into the game this weekend, Aaron, that you were away?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Because it's strange, because I was less worried about the Chelsea game than I was the Tottenham game.
You shouldn't be, mate.
No, well, yeah, you're making me feel a bit more confident. But yeah, I just think that, I mean, you've got the tools to hurt us on the break. So, and it's a game we need to go for, and ultimately, when it's games that we do need to go for, we have suffered a little bit, So, yeah, I am worried a little bit. But
any chance of us exposing that, Ricky? Do you think? I would have thought. Go on.
No, I watched, as obviously as you did on Wednesday. I watched the Villa game, and quite frankly, I was disgusted by what I saw. So many players have either down tools or just don't give a toss. The defence was an absolute shambles. There was nothing from midfield, no protection for the back four, and no support for the front four. Harry Kane, I've rarely seen him have a worse game for us. His head is gone. He is going to oppose little or no attacking threat on Saturday. I think Son doesn't seem to want to be there either. This is a team on the beach, mate. They clearly don't care about qualifying for Europe, because half of them don't expect to either be in the team next season or be at the club next season. You got nothing to worry about, mate. Nothing whatsoever. From what I saw against Villa, that was a shambles.
That was harsher than I expected, in fairness.
James, it was a shambles, wasn't it?
It's abysmal, mate.
So many players that clearly had no intention of putting a shift in. Surely
crowd's going to help you as well, isn't it, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be well up for it, aren't we? Yeah. It's made a difference to a lot of games only in this short period of time, hasn't it? Some results. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it, but in a slightly nervous way. I mean, all we need to know is that we need to win. And if we win and someone else does us a favour, then we've done our bit. But if you don't win the game, then you've not done your part. So
I think you go into it expecting Liverpool and Chelsea to win, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can only do your thing. As I said on the podcast the other day, if there was to be a mad final day result that you go into these games, and I think in years gone by, you'd go, the 3 teams will definitely win, or at least Liverpool and Chelsea will win. Perhaps Leicester's heads will go down if, say, at halftime, Liverpool and Chelsea are already a few goals up or something. But this season, anything could happen, right? And you know that, and it could well swing the other way. I think the one thing to kind of go back to what Ricky's saying, Villa will give Chelsea a game on Sunday with Grealish back in the team. That's a different team. So
glimmer of hope.
And Liverpool, like defensively, they can have comedy moments, and people like Zaha can expose that. Benteke, if they get the delivery right from wide. So I would expect both teams to win, but I don't think it's a given. No. Before we talk FPL, Ricky, have you got a preference on Spurs manager and who you want?
Yes.
Don't say Brendan Rodgers.
It is Brendan Rodgers.
Other than Brendan Rodgers.
If it's not Brendan Rodgers, there's 2 men I really like the look of, and to be fair, I think are realistic targets, and that's Ten Hag and Potter. And I'll take either one of them. I'd be more than happy. Good records of working with tight budgets, which is going to be really useful. Bringing you through and playing really good, attractive, attacking football. But I'll be more than happy, over the moon with either one of them.
Ten Hag's interesting because there's rumours that Levy and Ten Hag already had a meeting weeks ago.
Yeah, and that didn't go very well,
that meeting ended abruptly when Ten Hag said, "What's the transfer budget?" Which I think gives you a state of mind of where Tottenham might be at financially at the moment. I don't think, Ricky, there's going to be big money spent unless Kane and Son do go.
It's interesting you said it, because there was an article I read yesterday, and this whole Bank of England loan thing, and we've deferred ours for another year. Arsenal have taken out a loan to pay off their Bank of England loan.
Yeah, that's right.
Which on the face of it sounds like it's a little bit stupid. But it isn't, because the Bank of England, one of the stipulations was that we're not going to give you this money so you can go out and buy a load of money, spend a load of money on players. So Arsenal have now freed themselves from that constraint. So in theory, they can go out and buy a load of players. We haven't. We've just deferred our loan. So does that mean that we're not going to spend any money on players? Quite possibly. But I cannot, and this is what's about Daniel Levy. He's got to get this appointment right. And part of this appointment is not bringing in a manager and saying, work with those players. He's got to give him some freedom to make changes to the squad, to, maybe ship a few out, but bring in his own players as well. And if he doesn't manage to do that, it doesn't really matter who we get in. And Ten Hag, although I'd like him, he's probably not going to end up coming because of that.
4 names that the ITKs seem to suggest are realistic are Ten Hag, Potter, Ralph Rangnick, who I think most people have identified probably would be better as to control football operations.
Director of football.
As a director of football or something. And Roberto Martinez. And to be honest, I'm okay with all of those 4 names. To be honest, I would love Rangnick to come into the club in some form. I just think that could transform us. But I'm very sold on the idea of Potter. The more every day I become more and more. But then, Ricky, why would someone leave Brighton for Tottenham?
You know what? I know that is a half serious question, but the fact that it's a half serious question is all the more shaming for us.
Well, let's not joke about it. If Brighton actually find a net next year, there's every chance they'll finish above us, isn't there?
Well, I once again, I had a conversation like this last night, and I was selling the virtues of Potter, and my mate just couldn't understand it. And I was trying to explain, look, they play such good football, such attacking football. If they didn't have Danny Welbeck up front, if they had a moderately good striker who could get 15, 20 goals a season, they would be a lot higher than what they are. And I expect them to be next season. He works on a small budget. He improves players. He brings through youth. But he's given the free rein to do that at Brighton. Would he want to come and be micromanaged by Daniel Levy and be told that what you've got is what you've got, and if you don't like it, there's a door? It's one thing to go in and say, well, we're Tottenham, we can get him, but it's working conditions, isn't it? Why would you want to jump out of a smaller pond to go and be bullied in a bigger one? Some people are happy working in that smaller but more friendly environment.
With that in mind, do you think Kane stays or goes?
If you asked me a couple of days ago, I was saying he was going to stay, maybe for one more year. The comments that he's made the last couple of days, he has very, very clearly set his heart on a transfer to Man City. I don't think he sees himself playing for Tottenham next season. And I don't think he's going to be one of the kind of players that, goes on strike or creates a fuss. But right now, I think it'd be a bad move to keep him next year, because judging on what I saw on Wednesday and judging on his comments since then, his heart is not there anymore, and he'll be a passenger. So
the only way he's not going to go is if someone doesn't come up with the money, right? Basically,
yeah,
that's where it's
yeah.
at.
And I think Levy, if someone flops 120 million on Levy's desk, I think he will take it. I genuinely do. My only concern is if it was United that Kane wanted to go to, I think I would say yes, he's definitely going, because United will just stump up the cash. I don't think that City will. It's not that they haven't got it. They haven't got a history of spending money like that on players. And one of the realistic options would be, well, we'll give you 60 million and we'll give you Jesus and we'll give you somebody else. Are they going to want to come to us?
That's what I've said, yeah. If you start throwing in Jesus's and Bernardo Silva's and Laporte, some players who might fix some problems for Tottenham, do they want to come?
No, of course they don't.
Exactly.
So it very rarely happens as well, does it? These kind of cash plus player transfers. They very rarely.
It's interesting. You mentioned obviously cash transfer. Obviously, you've had some big sales and not had people come the other way either. We talk about Harry Maguire, Ben Chilwell. That's kind of how Leicester's model was worked in terms of sell at the highest point of value for some of these players. And that's obviously helped you kind of continue to spend money and get the best crop of youngsters not just in the country, but obviously people like Wesley Fofana coming in this year has been sensational for you on the whole. Is there anybody at your club you'd be worried, particularly if you didn't finish top 4, that people would come back asking for? Because presumably Tottenham would look at people like Iheanacho, wouldn't they, if Kane left?
Yeah, indeed, he'd be the big one I would worry about.
Can I take Tielemans as well, please, mate?
Yeah, Tielemans as well. Tielemans, I think he's still got, obviously, he's very young. He's got time to develop a little bit more. I think he'll be with us another season, but I would I'd be amazed if it was with us long term, because he's got everything. It's an amazing little player. And then someone like Fofana as well. I mean, obviously he's young, but he's come in and you know, teams like United are looking at him already and things, you know, it's like, but we're used to it now, aren't we? It's just a case of we're just making sure that we've got the next one lined up. So
can we sell Kane and Son for 200 million, do you reckon, Rick, and just get the money straight put to the King Power and just take as many Leicester players as we can? You'd be all right with that, mate?
I'd be more than happy with that.
But why would they come to Tottenham? It's the revolving circle. Let's talk a little bit of FPL, guys. I want to speak about the 2 goalkeepers firstly, briefly, because a lot of managers have got big issues with goalkeepers. And Schmeichel and Lloris are 2 of only 4 goalkeepers who've actually played every Premier League game this season. So Schmeichel's a fair shout for the weekend, isn't he, Aaron, for people who've got trouble still in that area?
I don't think so. I think our game could be quite high scoring. And we've not kept too many clean sheets at home. So, I mean, you're obviously, you know, he's going to play. But I wouldn't fancy us for a clean sheet. Not with your 2 guys. And I know that obviously a lot of this pod's been dominated from the fact that you don't seem interested, but Harry Kane's still got the golden boot to go for. And while that's still a thing, then, you know, I'd be worried for us defensively. So, and Evans is out, isn't he? So it does affect us a little bit back there without him.
What's the impact with that? Fofana central of the 3 and Castagna right-sided centre-back? Is that what you think it'll be?
Yeah, I think so. That's the way that they've been going with it. It's a shame because we lose Castagna on the right-hand side, who is a big plus for us down there. And obviously Pereira isn't what he's been. He won't get back up to speed again until obviously next season. He needs a good run in the side again. But yeah, you kind of, you're fixing one problem, but you're creating another because you've not quite got that outlet that we've had with him. And he's looked a little bit more comfortable last couple of games being there, but I can tell it's not his natural position. So we probably need a little bit more cover there come the summer. So maybe they might look at that as being a thing, especially if we're going to carry on with this 3 at the back. But I mean, Schmeichel's been amazing, hasn't he? I mean, you say he's played every game. I mean, he's played every game for about the last 5 seasons, I think. He barely misses a minute. So, you know, amazing professional.
Yeah, brilliant goalkeeper. I'm just a bit sick and tired every time he makes a great save. Someone compares him to his father. Does my head in a little bit. I think he's earned the right to be classified in his own right now as a Premier League and FA Cup winning goalkeeper. Do you think there's any chance Wes Morgan might play? I know the game shouldn't be treated for sentimental purposes because the game's too important, but he did bring him on, obviously, at the end of the FA Cup final. So do you think there's a chance he might look at it and go, well, the physical battle with Kane, if he's got Fofana and Siunchu either side, and then Morgan can obviously do the organisation, which Rodgers made some dodgy comments after he lost to Newcastle about basically saying Jonny Evans is the only one back there with brains.
That was a funny one.
It was a little bit weird, actually. Do you think there's any chance he could put Morgan now? Because that then solves the problem and you can put Castagna back at wing back then.
I can't see it myself. I mean, it's been fantastic for us. But I don't think he should be near our team now. I mean, I was actually quite amazed that he did come on in the cup final, but I think more with that was they were obviously trying to pump quite a few balls in the box, and especially from set pieces, we were looking quite vulnerable, and we have done all season. So maybe it was a bit of that. But I think the only way it gets on the pitch is if obviously either we get an injury, to Fofana possibly, which would weaken us massively anyway. But maybe he'll come on for the last 5 minutes of the game if the game's wrapped up. But I'd be very surprised if he got on the pitch.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it'll be lingering in his mind game week 37 last season, the game at Tottenham, when you had Morgan and Ryan Bennett played at centre-back. I mean, Bennett was very average footballer, but he just did not work out well, or you got done over badly on the counter-attack. So I don't think he'll do that. What's your thoughts on Pereira? And you kind of alluded to it there. Is it just a fitness issue? Because I think a lot of us looking at it on the outside, a little bit confused, because you had that run of games and Rodgers said after one of them, well, he can't play 3 times a week. When we didn't see him again for 14 days.
Yeah, I think it's he's obviously got fitness issues, and it's such a massive injury that he's got over. And I just don't. I mean, he needs run of games, but obviously, if he's not going to be able to play a run of games, then he's not going to be able to get to where he needs to be. So I think he just needs a good pre-season. He's clearly over the injury now, but he's got issues of just trying to get his form back. So. Yeah, I mean, there's still a great player in there, but it's we all know, look, getting over injuries like that is a big deal mentally as well as physically. So, yeah, good pre-season, and and the only interesting thing is that obviously we've got Castagna there, so it's like, and he's obviously better on the right hand side. So you kind of, where do you go? Do you put Castagna on the left? I mean, he has played there more often. He has tried to switch them around so they become more comfortable in each position, but I don't know how that's going to pan out at the start of the season.
You've got James Justin. I don't think James Justin's going to make the start of the season, is he? But that's his best position as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, he does a great job on the right hand side. But yeah, we've got 3, recognised like wing backs, right back.
We will fucking take any of them, mate.
Well, it's incredible, really.
We ain't even fussy. Just give us your worst one.
I mean, I don't know which one is the worst one. They're all very, very similar.
Whichever one's the worst one is a lot better than our best one, I can assure you, mate. Because Ricky Japhet Tanganga had done all right, actually, in the couple of games he's played in that position. And he suffered, we don't know the extent of it, it was possibly quite a bad injury, obviously, on Wednesday night. Aurier or Doherty. This isn't even better the devil you know, is it, for Sunday?
No, I just don't play anyone out there. It'd probably be the safest option. One of my mates texted me yesterday when, as the minute after Nuno had been sacked, he's like, Nuno for Spurs. No, I don't think so. He doesn't fit the profile. Oh yeah, but he is really good, and he'll make Doherty good again. There's no turning that player around. That player is done. Aurier's got to be in it. I mean,
do you know what? That's the best summing up of Matt Doherty on what I've seen. You can say is it has to be Aurier. There is literally nothing that could be worse for Matt Doherty than that, and that's the reality. I'm the same. I'm like, I hope Aurier plays on Sunday. Yeah. It can't be worse. I do not need to see Jamie Vardy going into that channel with Doherty at right back. Like, honestly, good night. Forget about it. Centre-back's a big problem for us, Ricky. Mason seems intent on just going with Dyer and Alderweireld, which I don't actually mind, because Mourinho had this awful tendency that as soon as we lost the game, change the centre-backs. But it's not going well, is it?
It's not going well. And I feel a little bit, I feel a bit more for Rodon. For Rodon, because he was just starting to get a few games in the team. He's been completely frozen out. I understand why Sanchez hasn't been playing, because whenever he's played recently, he has looked pretty average. Well, he is pretty average, but it hasn't worked out for him. But Dyer, good God, he has been awful. He's making really bad mistakes, and quite what you'd assume are simple mistakes now every single week. He is a massive liability, but I don't think we're going to see anybody other than them two. Mason doesn't want to change his centre backs, and like you, I'm quite glad, because one of the things that we spoke about on Mourinho is that every single week he didn't really have a clue who was going to play in the back four. So now we have got a settled back four. I'm still not happy about it, but that's more to do with the fact that whichever defender you look at, they're rubbish.
The one defence I think we can give Mourinho, and we've never denied this, the players at the football club are not good enough.
Yeah.
But then Mourinho also added to that by bringing in shit players like Matt Doherty, which kind of compounded the problem.
I mean, he tried to fix a problem, but actually made the problem worse.
Yeah, agreed.
You should have listened to Brad. He told you that he couldn't defend.
He did, but I at least thought he'd be good going forward, and he ain't even that, Aaron. It's nonsense.
No.
We've got a big problem with fitness, haven't we, Ricky?
Yes, it would appear so. And it's really annoying because I don't know what's changed, because fitness was always the one thing we could rely on. If a team was going to score in the last 5 minutes, it was going to be Tottenham. And now it's kind of swung the other way around. Players are they're dead on their feet, mate, and they're looking after them. They're looking dead on their feet after 60 minutes. You know what? Harry Kane actually said something in an interview when he was talking about Mourinho, and he was on about players, how they should behave off the pitch, and Mourinho didn't micromanage things, and he mentioned that a player should be pressure enough to know he needs to go to the gym, not be told he needs to go to the gym. And it was almost felt like he was digging out his teammates, saying that they're not fit enough, they're not looking after themselves, and maybe that's a problem. Maybe the professionalism of the club has dipped that much that players aren't caring and taking care of themselves and looking after their fitness. Because something's gone wrong.
Are you looking forward to playing Ndidi and Tielemans tomorrow, Ricky?
I am looking forward to it, but only because this is the last time this season I've got to watch this crap. I want it done. I want it over now. No, you know what? I think the Tottenham Leicester games are always really entertaining. They're always exciting. They are generally full of goals.
It wasn't the last time I watched it, mate. It's fucking dreadful for us.
Yeah, it was. And I've got a feeling tomorrow's going to be the same, mate. I don't think it's going to be a good watch from a Tottenham point of view. I think Leicester could rip through us.
To reference that's the game I'm referring to in December, which Leicester won 2-0 at White Hart Lane, and probably should have won by more, actually. Leicester were very good that day, and we were dog shite. All four. Who do you think will play in front of Ndidi and Tielemans, Aaron, tomorrow?
I think Maddison gets a nod.
Yeah, that's what I was worried you was going to say, because he's returning if he does.
Yeah, let's hope so. It's been a long time coming. He's not looked himself, though, has he? But I mean, you obviously watched the game on Tuesday, and that miss from Perez at the end.
Big chance, wasn't it?
Such a big moment in the game, and that's Perez all over, though. Really, he's not quite ever fulfilled what he maybe promised. But he out of all of our recruitment, he's the one that's been. We have made mistakes in other areas, but he's the major one. The £30 million for him. It's never really worked out. Maddison will play. Iheanacho will come back in. That feels a lot better.
So what we got in that area, Ricky? We got Højbjerg and Winks probably going up against Ndidi, Tielemans, and Maddison.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll just leave that there. I think I don't think any further comment needed at this stage. Aaron, I'm looking to buy Iheanacho for Calvert-Lewin. I haven't pressed the button yet because there's no rush for me to actually do it. But can you talk me out of that? Should I be considering a Bamford or someone else instead, do you think? Or am I safe to go with Kelechi?
Well, from what you guys have been saying on this pod, I would say it's probably a good buy.
Okay, cool.
And I'm looking at him myself, so it's going to be between him and Bamford. I've already got Antonio, and I'm going to stick with Kane because anytime any place with him. So yeah, I think a part of me wants to have a Leicester player for the last game of the season.
Me too.
It's been such a dodgy season, and it'd be nice to be watching a game having a player in it. So yeah, I'll probably go Kelechi, to be honest. But Bamford could be a good shout. But I've got a little bit of Leeds cover there anyway. So it's sometimes not best to have all your eggs in one basket, is it? So
if you were selling Vardy, hypothetically, Aaron, I know you said you wouldn't. Sorry, if you're selling Kane, could you make any case to go for Vardy over Iheanacho? Bear in mind, it's just 1 week. The value of the player doesn't matter. If you're just literally putting the player in to replace Kane, could you make a case for Vardy over Iheanacho?
No, I don't think I could. If you already had Iheanacho, then by all means, if you've got a bit of chasing to do, maybe swap Kane out for Vardy as well, because Vardy's going to be well up for it as well. But no, if it was a choice between the two, and budget aside, then it's definitely Iheanacho for me.
Okay, what Leicester players have you got at the moment?
None.
You think they're buying Iheanacho?
Yeah, I nearly kept him with the blank, but I just looked at that Chelsea fixture and didn't fancy for him getting anything, and obviously he did, but he did start on the bench. But yeah, I probably regret selling him now, but it doesn't matter. Budget's not an issue now. I think he'll probably be coming back in, and again, I mean, he's looked sharp, razor sharp every time he's been on the pitch. So yeah, and everything that you've said about the defense and midfield just makes me think there's got to be a goal in there for him at least.
I think what I love about Iheanacho is that he sees the post and really doesn't think twice. Right. I think his game's developed. I think he's actually got a bit of a relationship going with Vardy. I almost feel in a way they're better off, like we've seen in many games, because you played recently with basically kind of Vardy back through the middle in the 2 games against Chelsea. But I think it was just for Chelsea. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Iheanacho and Vardy don't play close together. They like to spread into. We see Iheanacho go right channel, Vardy left channel, and it works for them. Actually, when they get too close together, they kind of get in each other's way a little bit. So it's an odd partnership, but it's working at the moment. I love that Iheanacho sees the post and just shoots. He doesn't think twice. He's got a lethal left peg on him, and he's obviously flying with confidence. Ricky, where are you at with Spurs players in your FPL team at the moment?
Son and Kane, still got them. After what I saw Wednesday, I want to get rid of both of them, but I won't, because they are still absolutely top draw players, and they can, as Aaron said, anywhere, anytime. So you don't know what can happen, but I'll keep them. I've got Maddison. At the minute, he's not in my starting 11. I'm trying to rectify that.
Rectify that, mate.
Yeah, and I'll probably will get Iheanacho. I sold him last week for Bamford, which didn't work out too bad because Bamford got his goal. But I want an Iheanacho back now, so that might be a move I'm doing.
And who would that be in for?
Calvert-Lewin.
Okay, similar position to me. So that's the move I'm making, probably is Calvert-Lewin to Iheanacho. I've got Kane and Son as well, and they're staying. And there's not a thought to get rid of them, which... Is that a bit weird considering everything we've just discussed? Or is it just looking at it and going, it's 2 points? One, Kane's going for the golden boot, and I think you scored more goals against Leicester than any other opponent. We've spoken about Leicester might have issues in that area, which includes obviously right-sided centre-back, which if Leicester don't get that area right, could mean Son's in business as well, right?
It could be. And I mean, I'm just checking now. One of the reasons why I won't be getting rid of them, between them, well, Son and Kane have got 27 goals and assists and 35 goals and assists respectively this season. That's why I'm not getting rid of them. They can turn up at any point. Leicester, there's going to be a lot of nerves, I think, tomorrow because of what's riding on the game. And we could expose that. Leicester might make a few mistakes. They could even still be a little bit of an FA Cup hangover as well, which often happens after teams have won a trophy. So there are. I mean, I've been quite a doom and gloom merchant on this pod, but there are hopes for a good game tomorrow and a few goals, and I just want to get as much out of that as possible.
Aaron, have you got either Kane or Son?
Yeah, I have them both.
Any thoughts to get rid?
No.
It's interesting, isn't it?
I know. I think it's just knowing what they can do.
Yeah.
Even if they're at 60, 70%, they can still. They're so lethal, aren't they? They're two of the best finishers, if not the best 2 finishers in the league. So they only need a chance. So.
And Kane will probably go out with a couple of goals on his last Spurs game as well.
More than likely, he always, like you say, James, he always scores against us. The one time he didn't this season, I captained him. Was it your place?
He does have a very good record against Leicester historically. But yeah, you're right. He obviously did blank in the game at White Lane earlier and said, mind you, I don't think we had a fucking shot in that game, to be honest. Guys, really enjoyable. There seems to be, and this might come up in the predictions now, a little bit of theme. Every year in Game Week 38, one game goes off. It might be this one. Aaron, correct score prediction?
3-2 to us.
That's exactly what I was going to say. 3-2 to Leicester.
Okay, no, okay, interesting. I'm gonna 3-1 is the prediction I'll go for Leicester. I don't see us getting that close to them. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like 4-2 though. I could see that. I think it's probably quite dependent on how Leicester play. So there might be a scenario where, I don't know, interesting kind of tactics come into the game which might not be planned. Say if Villa score early against Chelsea, for example, that might then alter the mindset of how Leicester want to play. Because I think we have seen, even referring that game at White Lane, Aaron, where you did play very defensive on the day. You were just very good when you had the ball. It was a complete nullify Kane and Son. We'll do our business when we've got the ball, but ceded possession basically to Tottenham on that particular day. It'd be interesting to see if you do that again. Best thing you can do, mate, is let us have the ball, because we'll give it to you. Don't worry about that. You just stop the ball into Kane and stop the ball into Son. Eventually, you'll wait for us to make a mistake, and we will do. I think 3-1 Leicester. Will you, Ricky, before we finish, will you be keeping an eye on what's happening at the Emirates, or do we not care?
Do you know what? No, I don't. Yeah. No, I actually genuinely don't. We finished above you in 8th place. Big deal. It's this season. I just want it over. I don't care what happens. If I certainly won't be gloating over Arsenal because we finished 7th and finished above them. That's not a victory. That's two rubbish teams both having a rubbish season. Just that we would have been a point less rubbish than them. That's nothing to cheer about.
Quite agree, mate. But do you want to be in the Conference League, or would you rather just miss it?
Do you know what? I actually quite fancy being in it because
we might fucking win it.
Yeah, mate.
We might have a chance of winning something.
It is the pits of Europe, and if we can't win that, then we don't deserve to even probably be a football club anymore.
You know, Roma are likely to be in it, don't you?
Do you know what? Bring it on. I'll do that.
It's written in the stars, isn't it? Tottenham versus Roma in the UEFA Conference League next year. It's where, to be honest with you, it's the competition that Tottenham and Mourinho both deserve to be in next year. I suspect we won't be in it though, because I imagine Arsenal will probably beat Brighton. I would have thought on Sunday.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to finish about 9th, mate, if I'm being honest.
Probably depends on Everton at Man City, but I can't see us getting anything tomorrow. I think Arsenal will win. I haven't even considered in my head that we could still catch West Ham. It's not even on my mind.
It's absolutely incredible, isn't it? How it's fallen away since Christmas for you guys, though. Where you were.
To be honest, the first game that caused a big problem for us was when we played you. Right. So we'd lost to Liverpool on Wednesday. I'm sure that was the Wednesday before we played Leicester. And second half, we played all right. We were actually one of the few defeats we've had this year where we were a little bit unlucky. And then the performance against you, Aaron, was fucking abysmal. And their heads went from there. Right. Tactically, you really outdid us that day. Guys, absolute pleasure. You can follow Aaron on Twitter, Aaron Lagor, and Ricky at Ricky Saunders 77 on Twitter. Before we finish, I'd like to give a shout out to Adam Hotcroft, our Aston Villa correspondent, who, due to work and personal commitments, is going to be stepping down as our Villa correspondent for next season. Adam is absolutely fine. He's just got a lot else going on in his life at the moment. So we'll be looking for a new Villa correspondent. And Clash of the Correspondents for the season is not finished. There will be at least one more on Friday. Johnny Preagle, who's got a ticket for the Champions League final and rotation FPL, will be previewing the Champions League final with Manchester City and Chelsea. Best of luck for game week 38, everyone. Thanks again to Aaron and Ricky. Cue music, please, man child. Say it, please, Ricky.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.